Hi, I'm Matt Lennon. I'm here with Bill Armstrong. I wanted to have a bit of a chat with Bill. He's running a marathon about 3 weeks' time, early December 2020.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, is it?
2 weeks yesterday.
Wow. And it's probably, I guess it's probably symbolic of the year 2020, a marathon being a bit of a long haul, a bit of a grueling run. 2020's been a little bit like that for a lot of people. So the marathon itself, I know you do a little bit of running from time to time. I'm not exactly sure of the full extent, but I was talking to you a few months ago and you said you wanted to dedicate it as a fundraiser for these kids over there at Ashraya. And we'll talk more about Ashraya in a moment. The audience might not know much about it. But tell me, in terms of running and making it as a fundraiser, and maybe what would be helpful is when you first heard about Ashraya and why you decided that you wanted to dedicate it to those kids.
No, thank you, Matt. As you know, I joined the collective Heart family early in the year, and I think right from the start, in terms of listening to the charitable works and the people we support, right from the start, Ashraya touched my heart. Probably didn't know why at the time. But I've since remembered from talking to my mother and father, who are quite elderly now, they're both in their 90s, that when I was young, my mother was a volunteer at an orphanage which was at a place called Yarra Bay, which is right next to La Perouse, where I grew up.
Right.
So I think in the late 60s, early 70s, I used to join my mother in her volunteer work at the orphanage, and the kids used to come to our house occasionally, and we'd I think my mother was one of the key organisers of their annual sort of Christmas picnic at Kurnell, and I think it kind of has aroused those memories, and I really, particularly, when people like yourself were sharing Ashraya's journey this year through COVID and everything that's happened and the sad things that have happened to them there. It just was one of those things that came into my head. It was that you're going to go, and if people think it's a good idea, I'm going to put myself forward to do a fundraiser for Ashraya and see if I can help out in some shape and form.
Yeah, well, good on you, Bill. It's certainly been appreciated, the sentiment of wanting to find a way to support those children. And for those of you who aren't aware, Ashraya is essentially an orphanage and a school located over in Bangalore in India. And it's actually quite a populous part of India, but there's still a lot of poverty there and a lot of unemployment, and a lot of the kids that end up being looked after at Ashraya are really there because their families don't have the means to look after the kids, which, being a parent myself, is a really confronting idea. And they've been under financial difficulty this year with COVID and the school shut down, and their founder Leela has recently passed away. So there's just a tremendous amount of pressure in the Ashraya family, really, at the moment. So any support is it's so much appreciated in terms of any monies that could be raised, but it's also, there's times that you just kind of need to know that somebody's doing their best to try to help you out. And right at this time, those kids over there will really benefit from this, as well as the people who work there to try to make it all, to make it a safe and happy place for the kids.
Yeah. I think it crossed my mind, it's been a tough year for everybody, everywhere, and I think I might have been sort of allowing myself some sort of self-pity, because I had to homeschool, or I couldn't go into the office for a couple of months, and then all of a sudden you hear, what's happening at Ashraya, and the hardship that the kids and the experiences that they've endured and the people who work there, and I just kind of thought, stop feeling sorry for yourself, go out and run 42.2 kilometres and have an opportunity to contribute to a good cause. It just seemed it just seemed like the thing to do to me.
Yeah, well, it's lovely that you're willing to do. Oh, look, I think you can. I think it's okay to give yourself a little bit of, what do you say, self-pity, coming off the back of what's been a pretty challenging year for a lot of people. But it's nice that you've been able to find that little bit extra in the system as well. And there's probably easier ways to fundraise a few dollars. You don't have to go and run. How far is it?
42.2 kilometres.
42.2 kilometres. Yeah.
Can I declare I will be running it quite slowly?
Oh well, I think if I was running, I wouldn't even get to the 42 kilometres, Bill.
I think I've told you, but my wife reckons I don't run. I actually shuffle. I don't officially run. I just shuffle along.
Well, in some ways, there's nothing wrong with shuffling. It sort of gets you from one end to the other. It's a little bit like charitable work, isn't it? Steady as she goes, and you just do your best to try to get results for people that really need support.
Yeah, and it's funny. I think all of those, I hadn't thought about it for years and years, but I don't know, it's even the faces of the kids that I remember back from 1967, 1968, or whenever my mum was. I just always remember my mum used to organise the Christmas picnic it was, and I just always remember how much fun it was for us as a family to be part of that, the kids doing that. And I suppose my mum and dad have sort of in their 90s, 97 and 94 now, and I don't know, I'm probably doing it for my mum.
Yeah, doing it for your mum as well.
Doing it for my mum, yeah.
Well, there's every chance you may never meet these kids over there at Ashraya. Huh?
No, that's right. No,
but it sounds like the spirit of generosity might be in the genes. Come down from mum to yourself and passing it on.
I think that might be the case, actually. But it's just so much a pleasure to be part of the collective heart as well, and all the kindness and all the love that generates from that mob of people as well.
Yeah. Well, we do our best. So the run's on the 6th, I think it's the 6th of December, right?
Yeah, Sunday the 6th of December.
Yeah, and there'll be a fundraising page, so if somebody would like to offer a small contribution or a large contribution, I don't mind what size it is, but please don't expect that, too small doesn't make a difference. Yeah. And we appreciate that it's been a big year, and I guess the last thing we want to do is to put any expectation or obligation on anybody. But if somebody feels in their heart that they would like to make a contribution to these kids who really need support at this point in time, 100% of what's raised, goes straight over those guys essentially for food. What they're desperate for right at the moment is food. So we'll send the link out. I think we'll even include the link underneath this video, wherever this video ends up.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Oh, I just on the Sunday, I was just going to also point out that the second half of the marathon will be basically running from Newcastle Beach, following the water along Throsby Creek into Tighes Hill and Maryville and back again. So if anybody wants to come and cheer me on or splash some water on me, it'll be much appreciated.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll include, we'll do our best to include that sort of track and some indication around timing as well.
That would be great.
Okay. Well, good on you, Bill. Thank you so much for
Matt.
doing this for those guys.
My pleasure. My absolute pleasure.
I really, really appreciate it. They'll be just so grateful.
Yeah. No, my pleasure.
Okay. Thanks, mate.